Hello everyone and welcome back to a new decluttering for free. In this video I will tell you a little bit more about the resident and about what is happening in this home. Also, I will update you guys on how me and my family are making preparations for our move to a new home next month. I am sorry if you might be hearing a wind chime during this voiceover because it is so stormy outside and my neighbor, she's a really cute old granny. She has this wind chime in her garden and it is just making a lot of noise. Maybe you could have guessed it from the first clip, but this is a man's home. Actually, I would call it a man cave. The floor in this apartment is covered with clothing, tools, screws, wires, electrical appliances, bicycle parts, anything that you would normally find in a barn or a shed. Let's call the resident Gregor. Gregor is a man in his late 50s, and without judging him, I can say that he has had quite a challenging life. It all started in Gregor's childhood when he grew up in an unstable family, and so as a child he was replaced to another home 18 times. It seemed that nobody really cared for this young boy, and he definitely had a lack of love, care, safety, and learning how to trust people. And because Gregor was missing these fundamental conditions for a healthy childhood, he soon began developing problematic behavior into his teenage years. Gregor grew up, and as a young adult he was easily impressionable by bad people. Gregor's story made me realize once again what an enormous impact someone's childhood has on the way someone develops his or her identity. Now, I am not the person who really wants to ask questions about someone's life, but Gregor did tell me that not long ago he had been in prison. To distract his mind from the fact that he was imprisoned, Gregor started making art from anything that he could find. And at one point, Gregor was even invited to set up a little exhibition of his artwork in prison. When he was released, Gregor wanted to continue his new hobby at home. But the situation got a little out of hand when Gregor took everything home that he could find, in dumpsters for example, and he proudly called himself a dumpster diver. He had the habit of starting up a lot of new projects but only finishing a few, and all the clutter started to get out of his control. At the point when the neighbors started complaining and the housing association knew about the condition of this apartment, it was a very loyal friend of Gregor who contacted me because he was afraid that Gregor would be evicted. Together with Gregor's friend, we started decluttering his apartment, and the goal for that morning was to clear out the whole floor. And I have to admit that I was a bit frustrated that I didn't really get to the real cleaning, but at least this is a start. There were a lot of bags with clutter that we brought to a dumpster, and don't worry, this wasn't an open dumpster, so Gregor couldn't climb in it to take everything back to his home. As you probably have heard, I've lowered the volume a little bit because Gregor and his friend were talking a lot and I was scooping a lot of clutter from the floor, so it was quite some noise, and to me that didn't sound really relaxing, so that's why. Because this video is about decluttering, I thought that it would be a fun idea to talk a little bit about how decluttering is the very first step that I'm taking in when it comes to preparations for our move to the new home. We hope to get the key to our new home right before Christmas Eve on the 24th of December, at 3 p.m. So I want to avoid as much chaos as possible since December is already a very chaotic month. And one of the things that might be new to you or not is that I love decluttering my house. My husband always says that I'm a little bit too good in decluttering and that he is afraid that I will declutter him at some point, which I will not, of course. But it just makes me feel so good when I can bring another bag with clutter to a secondhand shop. And the way I like to declutter is by taking on one room a day. I always start by opening all the doors of all the closets that are present in that specific room. And by trial and error, I have learned that taking everything out of the closet and put it on a bed or something does not work for me at all. I have tried this a couple of times, but since I am a person who gets overwhelmed quite quickly, this is not a method that works for me. And I am eager to tell you what does work for me, which is keeping it really, really simple. I will tell you all about it after the next clip. So my simple decluttering method is very different from, for example, the decluttering method of the famous Marie Kondo. She teaches us to grab an item and ask ourselves the question if it sparks joy in us or not. And based on the answer, we get to keep the item or have to get rid of it. But since I tend to be an overthinker, it didn't really help me because I was asking questions like, okay, it doesn't spark joy in me now, but will it spark joy in me in the future? Or will it spark joy to my mom if I kept it? And etc. etc. Honestly, I think decluttering should not waste too much of our time. So the method that I'm using doesn't take up much time and is very simple. The first step is, after you open the closet doors, you want to look for items that you haven't touched in at least a year. And yes, this also goes for all the clothes that you have kept, but you don't fit them anymore. And of course, I allow myself to make a few exceptions for clothes that were really pricey, for example, but for the most part, I just donate them. Things that I also donate to a secondhand shop regularly are decorations. For these, my rule is when I haven't touched them in 2 years, then they are donated, because when decorations are just stored in a box, they don't fulfill their purpose and they only take up space. And since you all are my friends, I'm also going to reveal my very effective method in case I am doubting whether to keep an item or not. I grab the specific item and I ask myself this question out loud. If this item had poop or vomit on it, would I clean it or throw it away? By the way, this is a rhetorical question, guys. You don't have to really test it out. Most of the time, this item still ends up being donated, and I see this as a little decluttering victory. If I would write a book about this method, just like Marie Kondo did, I would probably call it the poop book. This was the status after about 2 hours. We cleared out the hallway and the kitchen, but we still had a lot to do. And don't worry, we didn't just throw everything away. We kept as much of the tools as we could and we put them into his toolbox. At this point, time was ticking and I heard Gregor's friend saying that the sink was really dirty and he tried to empty it, but that he had a hard time doing that. So I offered him to switch duties and I would continue with the kitchen and he with the living room. Unfortunately, I don't have that good footage of the last hour we were cleaning here, because I think the reason for that is that at a certain point I wanted to replace my camera, but I pressed the off button with a wet glove, so I think my camera shut down to protect itself from water damage. And it wasn't until the day after that my camera would turn on again. But yeah, I was cleaning the kitchen and doing some dishes as Gregor's friend was clearing out the rest of the floor. I also went to a store nearby because Gregor had no clean tea towels, so I bought him some. And this is all possible thanks to your donations on buymeacoffee.com and for your donations that I received through a super thanks. Since I'm so grateful, I always try to mention the people who gave a super thanks on my previous video. These lovely people are Cindy and Better Me. Thank you so much, I really appreciate your gift. Now, if you cannot afford it to give a little extra money, don't worry, you can always support me by sharing this video, leave a lovely comment and subscribe. Most of you will know that December 14th I will continue cleaning the home where I cleared out all the trash with Rose Amsterdam, Emily Campbell and Jasmine Lecomte. And this will be our Christmas cleaning party, so we will have a lot of fun. And I also wanted to tell you a little secret, because yesterday I bought some gifts as a surprise for this family. So I will probably be able to post that video right before Christmas. But don't worry, last weekend I had another extreme cleaning with a lot of trash, so that video is coming up too. As I told you before, the ending of this video will be a little bit odd because my camera shut down, but I will show you the before and afters that I recorded with my phone. A little disclaimer, however, is that I couldn't really get to the real cleaning, so you will still see that the floor is dirty, which will make this a very unsatisfying video. But the good news is that Gregor sent a message to his friend the next morning and he told him that he had mopped his own floor. So in this case, the resident himself made the final touch and I'm so proud of him. I want to thank you so much for supporting my channel and these free cleanings, and I hope you have a really nice weekend, and before and after photos will follow. Thank you so much. Bye!